Good afternoon to those who are watching Eurosport live on Saturday afternoon. The Amstel Gold race on your screens, 253 kilometres today, and that's 158 miles. Ideal racing conditions, hardly any wind, a lovely sunny day, and you've joined us just at the right time too, because the race set off this morning with an early break from Scott Sunderland and one of the Eldorado riders, and they had about a 2-minute lead, and they got all swallowed up by what was an amazing purge. And it really was something phenomenal, and it's virtually split the whole field, and the top 70 or 80 riders are chasing down this little group we've got here at the moment. They have a lead of just some 35 seconds on two other riders, and I'll say the main peloton's doing what it can to pull them back. So it's been fast and furious in this, the 31st Amstel Gold. 28 climbs in all, of which 5 of them, by the way, are going to be in Belgium. This course zigzags backwards and forwards and takes in what I suppose might not call the mountains of Holland, right down in the southwest corner in and around Maastricht, where the event will finish. This is the main pack you're seeing here at the moment, and there's an unusual chap sat on the back, Miguel Indre, number 51. He's not known as a great classics rider, but he's come up to have a go at the Amstel Gold. The roads here are much more to his liking. He's been riding some of the tours and events down in Spain, still searching for that form, which will be with him by the time we get to the Tour de France. But there he is, enjoying the sunshine today, looking remarkably relaxed, cool, calm and collected, and leading the Benesto team that doesn't usually have much interest in the early World Cup races. And so he's got coming in for the ride today. One of the men I hope we pick up shortly, Johan Mazou, is leading on the World Cup. He's got the victors or the winners or the leaders jersey around about his shoulders, a white one with the rainbow stripes going down it, and he'll be further down in this pack at the moment, trying to defend that lead. Not much pressure on him today, I don't think. Looking at the World Cup positions at the moment, Colombo, who has been second in the latest rankings on the World Cup, is not riding today. We've got Baldato's not riding, Richard not riding. They're lying 4th and 5th. The third place man is riding today, Bartoli, so that may change things just a little bit, but we'll have to wait to see at the end of his competition. So Mazou may go into our little summer break still wearing that jersey as the leader on the World Cup. There are just 70 kilometres left to go. We've got a break programme today, by the way, of those who are watching at home. It's 20 minutes up the last time check we got, and so 70 kilometres, that's inside 50 miles to go. We'll be on air for half an hour for those who are watching back home in Great Britain, and then we'll come back later on and have to, I think, when we'll do our commentary, and somebody back in the ranch will record it and put out later on sometime after tennis. It may even go live, I don't know yet. But there we are, Chmil just gone through, Gonchenkov's going through. This is the chasing group at the moment. No assistance at all there from number 176. He's not going to do any assisting here. That's Didier Roos, who did such a wonderful job in protecting Chris Bourman's interests in the Criterium International. But he's just going to sit in here because his teammates down the road in that lead-away group, the breakaway group at the moment, Armstrong, Rebellin, Malsi and Hulot, and wedged in between them. This is the 4 men at the front, and 2 men between them, Bontempi and Calzavara. As they go through there, I'm interested to see that this Polti rider, actually Rebellin, is rolling some. Now, he is a teammate of Gianetti, who won this race last year, and I thought he'd been just sent over the policeman, but he's certainly putting in a turn. Armstrong here, still smarting under his defeat in the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, is certainly helping this one go as well. So these 4 men, last time check, 35 seconds lead, and you can see how tricky it is here. These now twisting lanes and the short, sharp up and down, 28 the climbs altogether. It aids the sort of climb, the sort of a breakaway you've got now. Now Valkenburg, as they're going through, this is a very famous part of Holland, where they've had the World Championship in the past. The Tour de France has come up these hills here, and so the people on the side of the roads are well used to seeing cycle racing on this particular part of Holland. And they go. And back to the main group, which has split somewhat. Bouncing over the sleeping policeman. In fact, they've got Moto 2 up, so I suggest that those 2 riders, Bontempi and Calzavara, have now been absorbed by this little split that's occurred, and that gap still only around about half a minute or so. And we're now going back into the tail end of the main peloton. They're bouncing over, say, the sleeping policemen. They really catch you napping. If you're thundering along in a car trying to catch up, see how the riders bounce over the top of there? Well, the same thing happens to people in the motor cars. It's a good thing to have these sleeping policemen in towns to slow down the traffic, but of course, when bike races go through, all hell's let loose. And in fact, on the Tour de France last year, I was interested to note that in quite a number of cities, they had removed the sleeping policemen, taken them out, and allowed the race to go through, then put them back in afterwards. Some scraping of the tarmac going on to enable that to happen. Well, Armstrong on the front. Looks a bit like an action replay of the Bastogne-Liège with a Polte jersey and a Motorola jersey driving away at the leading group. My apologies, by the way. I'm sorry that we had the problems for you people back in Great Britain, and in fact elsewhere in Europe, with the tennis overrunning, and you didn't see the cycling. You switched on and watched tennis. There have been one or two hiccups, and there's been correspondence in the cycling press in England about the problems we've had this year. To my mind, I've been working with Eurosport. Everything started way back in Great Britain. It has been an unusual year. We've not had these problems in the past, and when people rush and put pen to paper, I know they feel anguish about it, but when you've got live sport, unfortunately things happen. Like on Wednesday in Fresh Valone, it poured with rain in Barcelona, so we put the cycling on before the tennis came back, and so the people watching, they thought tennis or cycling. The people who thought they're seeing cycling saw tennis. I'm sorry about that, but that's the problem of live sport. And the best thing I always say is to also make sure you tune your video recorder to the next day when we have a repeat, or in this case, we're going to be having the repeat on Monday. So sorry about those little problems, but nevertheless, Eurosport still dedicated to bringing you as much cycling as we possibly can do. Undoubtedly this year we're going to do more than we've done in the past, so all the chaps who rushed letters into the cycling press being very, very critical, bear with us, because you're still getting more and more and more cycling, and I won't say be thankful for that because it's the wrong sort of thing to say, but nevertheless, writing rude letters doesn't always inspire the people on the 5th floor here, who might think not so much of cycling. Fortunately, our viewing figures are good. We're getting excellent figures, and that means that we should be getting more and more cycling coverage, providing, of course, we don't have these little problems with other events overrunning. But we've overrun with cycling. Just cast your minds back to the Tour de France, the day after Casatelli died. That next day, the whole of the peloton just rode along, and the output that day was 1.5 hours late. And we were commentating for, 3 hours on what was going to be a 2-hour programme, and we ran straight through the next programmes, and people had to bear with us. So, it goes this way and that. There we are, World Cup standing. I said to you that Mazzeo was riding today in the World Cup jersey, leading there. Colombo not riding today. Bartoli is, but quite a fair old gap, 2 points between Bartoli and Mazzeo. Baldato not riding, or Pascal Richard. Gonchenkov is riding, but he's quite some way back in 6th spot. So that's the World Cup standings after 4 events. This is the Amstel Gold, then the 5th event in the World Cup Series. What's going to happen after this race, by the way, we don't have any more of the single-day classics in the World Cup Series until we come back after the big tours. If you're a new watcher of cycling on Eurosport, the World Cup will resume battle for the Classic San Sebastian, and that will be on the 10th of August. And then the 18th of August, we've got the Leeds International Classic. 25th of August, the Championship Zurich, and then the Paris Tour on the 6th of October. 19th of October, the Tour of Lombardy, and the 27th of October, actually having the Japan Cup, which has now been included in the World Cup Series. As Chimine's on the front here, so that'd be a nice addition to our programme. The whole sport becoming more and more mondial, as they say, more worldwide, and the final event in the World Cup taking part in Japan. So we have that little break. Of course, we'll be bringing you lots of other cycling in terms of the Tour de France, the Olympics, the World Championships, and of course lovers of mud plugging will be able to watch our coverage of mountain biking. We are not only covering the Grundig cross-country series, but we're doing the live downhill as well. There he is, the very man I thought might be going to show, 155, Gonchenkov of the Ross Lotto team, who's had a tremendously good start to the season. He's in this little chasing group now that split away from the main field. I'm going for a bit of a ride in the back. Doesn't look like he's going to try and push his way through yet to Ard, but we're well inside the final 70 kilometres now. I don't know if you can hear in the background the rattle of the trouble at the back. Yeah, they're dropping off now. This has been the case all the way through so far today. We've just seen the rider from the Lotto team dropped off the back. That's Corvers. And the whole tactic, I was talking to Paul Sherwin before we came on air, and he said the whole tactic's been, with many of the, what I might call the road riders here, has been to push the speed up and blast the sprinters out. So they didn't want to end up with a sprint finish at the end of this one. So just before we came on air, the hammer had been going down for some time and seeing off all the sprint specialists. And you can see how they go off the back rather than off the front to a large extent. Desperate again, trying to hang on here. Oh, really is groveling the gutter stuff, this, isn't it? Breathe in. Now Cameron bring you just a lovely run through the peloton. That give you some idea what it's like. Up the inside, watch for the bend. This is where you've got to be careful to drop in. The Weisel here coming. And round he goes. That's now Cameron on his motorbike. Ooh. Squeeze through. Squeezing through. And there you have it, motorbike view of the peloton. I can't remember when we actually did that before, right the way from back to front. That was superb. Just shows you how once the line out happens like this, everybody is going like stink, the gaps are opening up, and the pressure really is on. And that gave you a wonderful picture as the motorcycle came through, and the chaps they're chasing down are these four men in front: Armstrong, Rebellin, Massey and Hulot. Armstrong on the front, the Polti rider in there is Rebellin with the yellow colours, and here the Gan jersey of Hulot, and just the back, Massey from the Breslau team. There he is. In fact, no, they've changed their sponsor now. They keep getting mixed with the Breslau now because Breslau were last year linked in with what has now become sort of one of the most amazing pinky coloured jerseys you've ever seen. And there we are then. So he's just tucked on the back of that one. That gap then still only about half a minute for Armstrong, Massey, Rebellin and Hulot. And the thing has split. They're now going to start the big climb of Valkenburg. There's a cracking climb coming up. We're going to take a short break. Don't go away. Just over the top of the Valkenburg, where the whole thing has been transformed by a group coming up to that breakaway quartet of Armstrong, Massey, Rebellin and Hulot. And they caught them, and Gonchenkov went straight through and past them. Armstrong has found the danger, has gone with them, Chamil's gone with them, and it really has suddenly exploded on the Valkenburg. They've been really jumping up and down. It was tremendous to watch. I'm sorry that we went to a break just at the wrong time, but you've got to bear with me. This is some great race we've got here. 60 kilometres left in the race, and once again, this man who was in that early break, Massey of the Celamich Refin team, has got himself back into the leading group. So we're looking at a bit of a reformation here now, with Gonchenko on the front and Armstrong close up there. With him is also Chamil, and they've split that field. It was quite amazing on the climb. Massive crowd on both sides of the road cheering them up, but I somehow think that little 4 or 5 man group in front is like to find themselves absorbed by this very, very quick moving group behind. The sheer speed, they've been travelling now around about 40 miles an hour. They rocket up the hill. They're out the saddle, bouncing up there. And here's Yanni Bugnot in this one. Well, Bugnot has got some sad memories of the Amstel Gold. He got beaten in the sprint by Ralph Jarman in 1993. That's a fellow in the green, white and red national colours. They're number 1 in front there. That's Giannetti, winner of this race last year when he beat Cassani. And he's made the move up with that chasing group. And he's also got his teammates in there, because we saw early on Rebellin driving along with Armstrong. So he's well protected at the moment. The man who won this race last year and then had the misfortune to go off, ride the Tour of Switzerland, had a terrible crash, broke vertebrae, and his back had a lot of other things, broke a lot of teeth out as well. A terrible smash, but Giannetti recovered and already has been giving the Swiss spectators something to smile about this year, even through broken teeth. Actually, Giannetti lives right on the course. He says as the course goes past his front window of the Lugano circuit, which we're using for the World Championship this year. And what I think it would be if Giannetti actually gets the World Championship on a course that has gone right past his door. So he knows it's absolutely every inch of the Lugano course. And well, you can never tell. He's, what, 32 years of age now, just coming into the right peak, I suppose. And I mentioned last week, Giannetti, in fact, I'll repeat something that I said last week. You may not have heard it when they had the problems with the programme, but Giannetti and Richard, who won the Les Baston-Liège, were both born on exactly the same day, in exactly the same year. And so we had two of them away last week alongside Armstrong, two Swiss riders. We'll be looking forward to the championship. That's a beautiful chateau down there, isn't it? We're not far away, to see rambling on while we can't see what's going on down there, from a place called Vals, where the TI Rally people had a gathering in October last year of the old TI Rally members. It was a great reunion of the clans, and I had the good fortune to go there and been involved in the TI Rally team when it first started out, and got Peter Post to be the team manager. And here we go, rocking away. Let's stop the chat for a minute and just say what's happening on your screen. That's Bontempi of the Breslau team, who already was wedged in between the four-man leading group and the chasers, so he's decided to have another go. And off he goes there. What's it like? Well, I don't think one man's going to escape from this lot. The ever-present Motorola jersey. Armstrong is not missing a beat, and the Pulte team are also putting the hammer down on this one. The race, with all these 28 climbs, short, sharp ones, has been full of action right the way since the start. And Armstrong, I wonder if he's going to wear himself out. I still believe on the Les Baston-Liège that he rode himself into a frazzle last Sunday by riding all the time. He was just so courageous, so determined to get the big classic under his belt. He got the Flèche Wallonne on the Wednesday. In fact, no, in this case, it's not Armstrong. It's his teammate who's stretching the legs again at the moment. That's Andre Perron of Motorola. And they've gone back then till the tail. And there is Museo, legs 11 in the white jersey with the rainbow stripes running down it from north to south, or top to bottom, the case may be, the leader on the World Cup. And Museo has won this race in the past. So he's been second, that's right, in 1992. So Museo won it in 1994. So he's knows his way around this one. But I think he's going to be, yes, certain to try and do what he can to stay up there with the late contenders for the World Cup. But he's had a fever, by the way, and not been too bright ever since the Tour of Flanders. So he's been struggling a bit with his form. And at least he's just hanging on in here, and he's managed to stay clear of the backward selection which has been taking place so far. So I'll rambling on about the rally thing. We had a super evening, a lovely chateau at this nice place called Vals near Aachen, and it's great there to be with the people who were in the rally time, the world champions that we had, people like Jan Raas, people like Henny Kuiper, Zoetemelk, Knetemann, they're all there, and stage victors of the Tour de France, and had a super evening. Very went on the early hours of the morning, actually. I had a terrible head next day. But that was the Dutch celebrating what was, I suppose, one of the most successful Dutch-based teams of any Euro Tour. Back to the race then, in Holland, Amstel Gold, the 31st issue of the race. And the Lone Warriors still trying to have a good go on the front, but somehow I think they're going to come back together. Zanini doesn't like to persist with this one, I don't think. I don't like to describe this course because it zigzags backwards and forwards, a bit like a plate of spaghetti almost. It's all over the place down the bottom right-hand corner of Holland, but it's ideal for road racing, and we've still got a lot of action yet to come. The long string of riders, having absorbed the early breakaways of Armstrong, Rebellion, Marcian, Hulot, and now we've got about, what, I suppose 30 riders there from what had been at one time a 60 or 70 man group, and just about anybody's in this little group at the moment. M1 down the left-hand side of your screen is nothing to do with the motorway running up from London up to the north of England. That is in fact Moto 1, and here Pulte in profusion. You see there's a bit of paper coming out. He's not reading the daily paper. He's just having a little check to see how far they've yet got to go. As Jens Hettner goes away, there's a special prize for the most aggressive rider, and it's done in memory of a man who had a lot to do with the Amstel Gold over many, many years. And Hettner won it last year. He was awarded the prize for the most combative rider, and there he goes off down the road again. And the speed is up. You see how the legs are whizzing around now? They've got the big chainring going. Now they're 52 by 12, and it's whizzing round here. And in fact, I don't think the Rabobank team are riding on them, but the Rabobank team have been testing out this new Shimano 9 block at the back. I mean, most people race now on an 8 block. I remember the days when people were happy to have a 4 block at the back. There's only more than that. They've gone up progressively over the years, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now they've got 9 sprockets on the back. And on cue, I talk about Rabobank. Sorensen goes through there in the white and orange colours. And of course, Rabobank being a very big Dutch sponsor who've come in this year to support Jan Raas's team, will be interested in getting one of their men up there. And this fellow Sorensen was showing very good strength in Les Bastogne-Liège last week. He's jumping across the gaps, and there he goes through. They're not using the large figure here, by the way. Motorola are sending up the firepower. It's Axel Merckx, who again did very well last week. A very tall, gangly lad compared with his father. I think he must be about 3 or 4 inches taller than his father now. But there he goes, trying to get back to this little group. What's happening with this 9-tooth Shimano set, it's actually, they can actually have an 11-tooth top on the 9 sprockets, and they're made of titanium, and they're riveted onto a forged alloy spider, which is going to be a very, very expensive thing, particularly if you come to change them at some point in time. And at the moment, they can't use them in the races very happily, because if a rider punctures and he's on the 9-tooth and the mech is set to cover the 9 sprockets, then if they have a spare wheel which has got 8 sprockets on it, it won't work. And not only that, the chain is also narrower. The standard 332 chain doesn't run on the 9 blocks at the back. So Shimano have gone for this 9 block, but it's going to mean all the teams have got to have it if they are going to get away on the servicing side. So whilst it's certainly being used in particular events, I saw them out in Tour of Mallorca, and some not only had this 9 block, but also they had on the cable that goes from the brake lever, which has the mechanism for operating the gears as well. They had a little indicator. You could actually look down there and see what gear you're in. Whoops! The motorcyclist decided to ride down the central reservation, just seeing in time that he better pull over to the left. There's a lot of development going on as ever. And in fact, Shimano are now saying that their new kit for 97 is going to be about 15% lighter than this year. So there's a lot of activity in the racing thing. If you look at these bikes here, that something going, oh, it's the same. They've been like this for years, but they haven't. They got lighter and lighter, a little more upright in the frames, a lot more close clearance, and every way they can to cut down the wind resistance in terms of the equipment, and particularly the wheels. In fact, some of this brake I've just seen here has got those Spinergy wheels. That's an 8-spoke wheel. It looks like 4 when you look at it sideways. But very, very thin, flat blades on the thing, and a lot of riders are switching to them now. 30, yeah, count with me, I think about that, about 32, 33, 34. Oh no, must be still 40 riders here. So going into another shakeout, or another little climb, I think, before we can be certain that it'll be whittled down and we don't have a sprint finish. Well, we've had sprints in the past with a handful of riders, but not a mass sprint, the sort of gallop that we see from time to time. If it does get down to gallop, the one they've got to watch out for, by the way, I haven't seen him up in this group yet, a fellow called Sferrada, who's won some 8 races so far this year. In fact, he scored his 8th in the Grand Prix d'Antin just on Thursday, and that puts him up there as probably one of the most successful riders in terms of events won this year, scoring his 8th victory as such. He's actually riding today, but whether that knocked the stuffing out of him or not, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. They're all strung out there. He beat Cornelis, who's riding, I think, today, and Magnin in the Grand Prix d'Antin. It's coming back together again. Actually, his team, the one that Serrada rides for, Canaria, they've had quite a good run this last week. The Tour of the Apennines, they actually finished first, second and third. Vladimir Belly won that one, with Tonkov, his team leader, was his second spot. And they were a minute and a half, or 1 minute 50 seconds up on the group that came in, headed by Farazin of Panaria 2. So they had first, second and third. We're getting a bit of this now because you may remember in the Paris-Roubaix we had a Mappe finished first, second, third and fifth. And there was a lot of scratching of heads to discover how long it was since they had first, second and third. But we've gone and repeated the triple this week in the Tour of the Apennines, and Panaria have just done that. And of course on the Flèche Wallonne 2 years ago we had the Gavis do that, and the record books have been examined, and Liège Bastogne Liège in 69, Eddie Merckx went away, and in the end his team got the top 3 positions. Eddie Merckx, Van Schiller and Roger Schwitz were first, second and third for his team, and Mercier did the triple in the Paris-Brussels way back in 1951. So there have been some history in the past, and even in the first edition of the Amstel Gold race, Ford got the top 3 men, Slabinski, Van der Kerkova and Jan Huygens in. So that's just a bit of background information about triples for you, as this race still hammering on here with about 40 men left in that group. Sheer speed has certainly blasted a lot of people out on this 253-kilometre Amstel Gold. That's 158 miles in English language, by the way, but I think we need another sort out from that bunch down there, with maybe about 40 men left from the starters today. There was, what, a couple of hundred riders down to start. In actual fact, most of the top men are here. 10 of the top 20 in the UCI rankings are riding today. And they certainly have been taking on plenty of liquid. It's been a very, very hot start. They've been something like 20 minutes up on schedule. And we're looking there at number 91, Ralph Sorensen of the Rabobank team. Rabobank with Jan Raas is the team manager. Close look at him now. And Ralph Sorensen. And then on the left-hand side going through, we've just seen that the red and white colours of Bjorn Ries. And the main group here, most of the contenders for the crown and the winner of the Amstel Gold will be in this pack here. They take their feeding stations, and we've probably got, what, less than some 50 kilometres to go then towards the end, and we've still got some nice little climbs to go up there. They're going over the River Maas now, heading back round towards Maastricht and the finish of this race, but we're going to take a short break, so I hope you'll join myself, David Duffield, and Eurosport in a couple of minutes. Bye-bye.
The airport. Coca-Cola, always for the fans. And Goodyear. Qualifying for the European Grand Prix this evening at 7 and 10 p.m. on Eurosport.
On the climb of St. Petersburg, this leading group of some 40 men or so have got to keep the wick up and keep the pressure on, because as they went through the finish area on the lap that takes them back out into the countryside, the groups chasing, there was no more than about 40 seconds between this group, the next group, another group about 40 seconds after that one. So they've got to keep the pressure on, otherwise a whole lot will come back together again. So we've got about 2 groups of 40 riders, stragglers there after that, and it's up here. I think they've got to decide to do something about keeping the others at bay. And there's a lot of good talent in this one, depends if they're prepared to work at it together. So on this climb then, St. Petersburg. Richard Veronk, well, I suppose he might as well have a go off the front. He says he's going off on holiday when this race is over. Quite a number of riders have to work so hard in the winter and come into the early season that Veronk has decided to go off and have a bit of a break now, so we won't be seeing much more of him for a bit. I suppose we won't see his name in the results. I suppose he thinks he might as well go out with a fair old burst in the banjo, because this sort of up and down climbing is quite useful as far as he's concerned. He obviously prefers the big rolling climbs of the Pyrenees and the Alps and so on, where he's worn the polka dot jersey as the leader on the King of the Mountains competition in the Tour de France. But he's raced something like about 34 days so far this year and decided that he could do a bit of a rest. And this is the group there behind him. There's Armstrong gone through number 71. The Refin rider just sat up alongside. They've been fairly active most of the way through Refin because that's a Pipoli. Just the back at 123. That was Jens Hepner. And we're going right to the back of the group now. There's still a lot of riders hoping they can close that gap down. So the speed has been very, very intense. Unlucky 13 going through it. So Nardello of the map 18. I think he's blown a gasket now. He doesn't look too happy at all, sitting up there on the tops, taking things somewhat easier. I think he's lost interest now. Well, that's amazing. That was Didier Roos, actually, unless he's punctured. And, of course, the team vehicles can't get up on these narrow roads, and I haven't seen much of the neutral service either about the place. So it's not the ideal time to puncture when the group's travelling on averaging something about 30 miles an hour. There we are, Sorensen thundering his way through. He's got to be the danger man today. And it's now down to 16 seconds to Veronk, but off goes Sorensen to try and join him. Perron there missed the move for the Motorola team. Chimil tucks in, slots himself behind the two errant escapers. It's certainly all go today, isn't it? What a way to earn a living. They set on at 10 o'clock Central European time. That's like 9 o'clock back in the UK. So they've been racing now for some, 5 hours and 10 minutes. And look at the speed at which they're going. The Amstel Mercs at the back, just following on the wheel of Carl Zavara, the San Marco rider who had that early attempt to join up with the Armstrong breakaway. Gianni Bugno sitting at the back of that little group. There's a lot of class riders in this field at the moment, and none of them, I think, want to put in too much work and tow the rest along. That's why he's breaking up like this all the way through. And Perron riding hard. Intriguing this way that Perron is riding. He's certainly putting the pressure on the front. His teammate Armstrong had to go, so I suppose they're going the old 1-2. Once Armstrong got caught, then Perron would go out and try his hand. You see where he's rolling that big gear. He was one of the 100-kilometre team time trial squad from Italy. When we used to have the World Championships team time trial, he's one of their members, medal-winning quartet. He's now been absorbed by this one. Good with the Musenberg coming up next, which will, after 214 kilometres have been covered of the total 253. Veronk's been caught back, and it's Gonchenko that's gone across to him. "18 seconds. Well, that's could be good because Gonchenko is a very, very hard-riding man indeed, and Richard, I think, will be happy for the company. On these twists and turns, 18 seconds can soon go to 28 or 38. Roslotto, the Russian lottery group. In fact, quite amazing. We've got working on our commentary team Marc Madio in the French booth. He was hoping to put together a team which is going to be sponsored by the French lottery. And at the last minute, it's appeared that they hadn't got government approval of it, and the plug was pulled on it. But otherwise, we've had so many lottery teams going. Because Roslotto is the Russian state lottery. The Lotto team in black and red further back, that's a Belgian state lottery. And the French could have had their lottery team. And I wonder if the people at Camelot back in Great Britain might like to front a British team to promote the lottery there as well for the millennium in the year 2000 or something. Just a thought. Big Axel going away. That's Giannetti. I wonder how... You see, one or two of these riders, and there, Moselle has obviously been playing a waiting game. We saw him earlier on in the programme, if you're watching it live. If they edited it out and cut it down for the highlights, then you might not have seen him. But he was just sitting at the back of one of the chasing groups. Didn't seem to be too concerned at all. But now he's moved up into this very, very useful group of riders here, chasing after Veronk and Gonchenkov. And this could be, I think, the one that matters. They're all coming back up again. As soon as I say that, they come zipping on here. Very, very fast fought-out race, this one so far. And the record actually for the Amstel Gold is held by Arie den Hertog when he did the 210 kilometres, slightly shorter course from Helmond to Meersen, and averaged 43.2 kilometres per hour. That's 27.5 miles an hour. Well, they've been travelling pretty close to that today. We'll have to wait and see at the end of it all if they set a new record for this Amstel Gold today. Super conditions, and a lot of men want to really score. This is the last of the major classics for the tours come on, and so one chance to get yourself some publicity. Here he goes. Ooh, straight behind the old motorcycle. There they go again. Well, with 2 men away at the moment, Veronk and Gonchenkov, the chasing going on. We've got about 40 kilometres left in this race, but we're going to take a short break. Don't go away.
Ford. Coca-Cola, always for the fans. And Goodyear.
Qualifying for the European Grand Prix this evening at 7 and 10 p.m. on Eurosport.
This is the chasing group on the Amstel Gold race, coming 253 kilometres today. They're after the leaders among Veronk and Gonchenkov, who've been joined by Zeeberg of the Carrera team. The gap's only about 10 seconds, though. After Veronk had stormed away, Gonchenkov joined him. Then Zeeberg raced across the gap. That's with 40 kilometres to go. They're inside 40 now, maybe about 39 k's to go, but Zeeberg joined Veronk and Gonchenkov just after Cannes, K-A-N-N-E, and they went up a bit of a climb, and that gave them a chance of getting away. And 10 seconds a gap, but that's just a sniff down the road, and I think that the speed at which this group's going now, they might well start to suck them in, and it's really a roll call of who's who in cycle racing in that chasing group. These are the three I mentioned off the front at the moment, setting up to try and get this one. I wonder if Gonchenkov can get that classic victory he's been looking for so much in the past. He sat there in the middle of that little lot. And here, Richard Veronk. Time for something to eat. So let's see, checking again on my watch. Now, they've been racing what, for 5 hours, 5.25 hours now. They're actually running half an hour up on schedule. It's a very, very quick race indeed. Zigzagging backwards and forwards. And again, across the Maas that gives its name to Maastricht. We've been into, in fact, we're in Belgium now. Well, 36 kilometres to go. This next little bit, they go through Belgium, and it will be, a bit of my list here, how long we're in Belgium for. Yeah, something like about another 30 kilometres or so we'll be going through Belgium. We'll zigzag backwards and forwards. Reminds me of the Tour de France when I stayed last year just near Maastricht before we had to drive on the rest day, and that day I went out of Holland into Belgium, then into France, then into Switzerland. I think we touched Germany as well. I did about sort of 5 nations in 800 kilometres, 500 miles. Not so much a rest day that was, but just round here, the way that Holland nips down into Belgium, there's a little sort of enclave of Holland, and so they're zigzagging backwards and forwards across the border. No need to go through the customs or anything else now, just sail straight the way through. Although I have noticed in travelling over the border, particularly in northern France, we've been getting a few people stopped on the side of the road because of the terrorist problems they've got with Algeria, or Algerians as such, and so they've been stopping cars going on the border from France into Belgium and just checking out what's going on there. Sorensen on the front for Rabobank, who, interestingly enough, have got with Jan Raas, the team manager, the man who's won this race more times than anybody else. Jan Raas, the team manager of the Rabobank team, is the expert when he comes. He had 5 victories, Jan Raas, He won it in 77, 78 and 79, 3 times on the trot, and the 4th time he did in 1980, and then in 1982 he came back and got it again. So 5 victories to Jan Raas, the team manager of the Rabobank team, who are now trying to get a man up to this little breakaway group there. Right-hand side of the screen is the chasing M2, on the left-hand side M1, the group of Veronk, Zeberg and Gonchenkov. It was Veronk that started it all. And I suspect also back in Holland, glued to the screens, will be a young lad who's got his brother racing in this race as well. We haven't actually seen the Veenstra, but there's actually 3 Veenstra brothers. Weiberen, who rides for the Eldorado team, is brother Weitzer is an amateur, and the gap you can see on the screen is 15 seconds. The young lad's come along now, Wopke, W-O-P-K-E. He's the youngest of the trio of cyclists, and he's actually in a Dutch amateur squad that's sponsored by the Rabobank team. And in 2 years, he's won no less than 49 events. So there's another young name to look out for in the future, because Rabobank, I'm mentioning this because perhaps it might interest some of the banks in England, sponsoring not only the team you see in the race here, but they've got a whole system of bringing up juniors. They're interested in assisting cycling in forms of mountain biking, and also encouraging the club activities as well. And I think it's a very good thing to have happen. Interesting enough, in one of the publications they sent out, they were not happy because, well, I suppose that a lot of English people complained about not getting the Milan-San Remo on your screens. What about Holland, which is a great cycling nation? They didn't get it either unless you subscribe to one of the paid channels, and they were very upset about that because they didn't see the race on Eurosport or on their own terrestrial channel because of the problems of the contract. So it's happening all over the world. Mappa we haven't seen much of so far. Now getting the words out. We've seen Johan Moseo up there at the front, but that's Nardello that's being spoken to at the moment. TVM starting to roll. 15 seconds. I thought about time one of the concerted efforts of one of the teams came up. Kees Preem, the team manager of the TVM team, another of those ex-rally riders, got his team out here today. Den Bakker, Hamburger, Hoffman, Van der Steen, Van Petegem, Pulikov, Laurent Roos and Bart Voskum, and they put 3 of their men on the front to try and catch back this little breakaway group here. Gonchenkov on the front at the moment. Had quite a good start this year. 2nd in the Milan-San Remo, 2nd in the Trophy of Pantalicia, 8th in the Tour of Flanders, 7th in the Flèche Wallonne, and in the stage races, 2nd in the Tour of Andalusia, 2nd Tour in Adriatico, 4th the Tour of Calabria, 2nd in the time trial, the 3 days of Japan, and that's all in a couple of months. That's the fellow there on your screen. So Gonchenkov really is in superb form at the moment. He's leapt, by the way, from 145th in the UCI chart to 32nd, that fellow at the back there, for his performances so far this year. And he actually was born in Ukraine, but was one of those riders that came up through the Russian system. And if he gets down to a sprint at the end of it, by the way, it might be interesting, because he was also a man who had 10 national titles on the track. He was in the same track team as Berzin, and he rode in the Team Pursuit team in 1990 for the Russians. So he's up with the leading group, and there Paron, another of the team men from Italy in the team time trial over 100 kilometres, sat at the back of this one. See how the gaps are opening up when the hammer goes down. That's Moseo on the right-hand side, just dropping in behind Paron, leader on the World Cup. Haven't seen much of the man who could challenge him for a few points, Bartoli, but of course Moseo's got to stay close to Gonchenkov in the World Cup at the moment. Gonchenkov has got 47 points, while this man Moseo has got 87, so there's a gap there of some 40 points. But if Gonchenkov was to win this race and Moseo was way out of the frame, then the lead could change hands. So there's a lot at stake. They've sucked him back there now. They've got Gonchenkov, they've got Veronk, they've got Zeberg, and very much I think because of the way that this man here has been rolling hard, Sorensen. He's still persisting. What a strong man. This Dutch-based team, Rabobank, has got to try and do something, I think, today in the event on their own back doorstep, and that's why we've been seeing quite a bit of them hammering along here. Sorensen won the Korn-Brussel-Kern right at the beginning of the season on the 3rd of March. He got a 7th, he won a stage in the 7th stage of Tirreno Adriatico, and he's going very well indeed in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. That's fell on the left-hand side here. So I think that a lot of the interest in the team will be his performance today. His spinnery wheels flying around there, and Gonchenko back in that little group with Mazot. That's Seberg. There's Veronk, head rocking backwards and forwards. Tried to get away, didn't work out. Well, it's an interesting little group here, 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 men there. And down the road, still Sorensen driving this one hard. So it's been the old war attrition again. The race moving into the last 30 kilometres or so. A lot of action yet coming up on Eurosport.
With Husqvarna Forest and Garden Products, Firestone, the science of safety, and Valvoline Motor Oil.
This is what's left of the main group at the moment, just down the road, some 10 seconds ahead. Perron, Misaglia and Sorensen. The whole event has been splitting, reforming, and now we're just down to the little group you have on your screen now, with inside the last 30 kilometres yet to go. As Mazeo moves through there, Hepner just behind him, and Axel Merckx going through the race. Really, I'm quite surprised that we lost 1 or 2 of the men that I thought might be still sat up in this one, because watching go through there for the career team, and that's David Seberg, who's already had to try and get away on his own. Or the guy with Veronk, it came to Nout, and up goes his hand, looking, I think, for a bit of support from about 28 kilometres. I think he wants some inquiry from his team car about what he should get up to, because Seberg is the best placed career man at the moment in this group. We've had the occasional glimpse of Claudio Chiappucci, but he's been further back, and I think he's keeping his powder dry for the tours yet to come. I've got a suspicion that Seberg, his sister, has retired from cycling. Don't quote me on that, but she was quite a good, useful bike rider. But I seem to remember early on this season, that's got to 23 seconds, put on Sorensen and Misaglia, that she decided to retire from the scene. But no doubt those who know the inner details of that one, whether correct me or not, 2, 4, 6, 7 of them there. Amstel, I understand, have the sponsor of this event, and have now got involved with a 3-year contract for the UCI. They're somehow held that one away for some reason. Not a happy man. But I don't know what the actual deal is, but Amstel somehow got involved with the UCI from some form of fun. Jan van Aert there, by the way, nothing with my family friends up in Malvern. That's the neutral service car here that they've dropped in there, and somehow Seberg wasn't very happy whatever drink they gave him. These are the 3 men down the front. Last check we had showed they were going away slightly. That's young Misaglia sat in the centre there, and Sorensen doing all the work on the front. Looking down the list at the places, can't see much from Sorensen going back to Seberg here in recent years as being a victor, or having got himself a good place. My little notes are covered in green splodges when English-speaking riders do rather well. Max Shandry was 5th in 1993, Steve Bow, the Canadian, 3rd in 1989, and of course Malcolm Elliott 3rd in 87, and the bold Joey McLaughlin, when he arrived at ANC Halfords team, took a 4th in 1986 as a bride. Everybody had all the journalists scratch around for their books. They didn't know who the hell was this Joey McLaughlin character. But of course, Joey, milk race winner, Kellogg's Pro Tour victor as well. Surprised a few people that day. He was 4th behind Stephen Rooks, Zoterbilk and Van Holen. And a determined effort to try and stay away. The Irish contingent's done quite well in this one. The years gone by. Sean Kelly, 3rd in 1980. Stephen Roche, 2nd in 1982, behind Jan Raas, who took his 5th victory on that occasion. And Sean Kelly again 4th in 1982. The Australian Phil Anderson 5th that year, just behind Sean Kelly. And hello to all our Irish listeners, by the way. I've had some letters in from, they'll come flooding through the post. If I don't get around to replying to them, please bear with me. Chasing all over the countryside and continent, so it doesn't give me time to put pen to paper. But Bill Jordan wrote and said, will Stephen Roche be back with you for the tour? The answer to that one is yes. The bold Steve will certainly be with me. A nice letter from Jim Sweeney of the Irish Veterans Cycling Association. I don't really want to be going right over there, but he told me anybody who wants to go to Dublin, there's some vets have a good time trial series out there. And also my thanks to Miss Paula from Warminster in Wiltshire that's written me a letter. I shall reply to that. Yes, I can tell you where to get information about the Tour de France. And I hope you're enjoying the cycling on Eurosport live on Saturday and recorded on the Monday. 30 seconds, the gap is growing. That's the fellow on the front. I must find a bit more about him, Mr. Glear. He's been popping up all over the place and riding one of what I might call the lesser teams, the San Marco group. San Marco being a saddle manufacturer. There goes Mazzeo on the far side. Mazzeo's on the attack now. This could be important move. Mazzeo's going to try and close that gap down. The World Cup leaders rocket away. Mazzeo's gone away now. He's got to get rid of Gonchenkov. Is he going to close that gap now? Gonchenkov goes after him. Mazzeo trying to get away from this one. Looks powerful despite the fact he had that fever. Has he got the strength left in his legs to get a those 3 leaders? Gonchenkov comes across to him. And it looks like it might be over. Gonchenkov's got him. Now Gonchenkov may sit there or put the hammer down and go again. They're getting around about 30 kilometres to go, and that move by Mazzeo has been marked. So it's all over by the shouting. Came right from the back, Mazzeo, tried to catch him napping, but it was Gonchenkov that spotted him and pulled him back. So we've still got 3 men away in this chasing group at about 30 seconds. Just looking at the slow motion then of Mazzeo, who tried to split the field and go up to those 3 leaders on this, the Amstel Gold race inside the, coming up towards 25 kilometres, I suppose now. Perron, Missaglia and Sorensen are down the road. And this is what's left of a couple hundred riders who start out this morning as the team car for Mazzeo comes up. Have another chat with him. That really was a vicious attack from Mazzeo to try and split it up, but it didn't come to anything at all. And that's... coming for a drink now. At 30-second gap with about 25 kilometres to go. Could just about be sufficient. Sorensen driving it very hard up in front on this very, very hilly course. 28 climbs on the Amstel Gold this year. Talk about climbs, it's the Beacon Mountain Time Trial on this Sunday. I don't know if you're going to hear this commentary live on Saturday or whether you're going to have it out on Sunday. Sorry, Monday on your recorded version, but the Beacon Mountain Time Trial this weekend. It's the half century, the 50th year of the Beacon Road Cycling Club, and we've got people like the evergreen Bob Maitland, who won the first event in 1948 on that mountain time trial riding. A lot of other people have come out to celebrate as well. I wish you well. I'm giving a bit of plug because I'm vice president of the club. I thought you'd like to know that. Sorry I can't be with you, chaps, because we've got other things to do, other fish to fry, as they say. But hope the sun shines and you have a good day out in the hills around the edge of Worcester. Ross Lotto coming up. Bright coloured motor cars they've got there, haven't they? Fit. Bikes are very nice too. I mentioned before the programme these Hondesk machines that are now being ridden by the Ross Lotto team. If you go to cycle race and you're interested in bike technology, get near the teams, have a good look at some of the machines. It's always something going on all the time, despite the fact that they look the same with 2 wheels and a frame, what have you. The Peugeot machines that they've got here, the Peugeot riders have got an aluminium frame, they've got a carbon fibre frame, they've got a steel frame as well, and they can choose which ones they wish to ride upon. He looks a bit shocked tonight, doesn't he? The shouting and encouragement for Richard Verronk from his team manager. It was Bruno Rossell urging him to go to have a go. He's certainly going off on holiday and a bit of a break. but no break for this little group here with Sorensen doing all the work on the front. They're heading in then towards the finish at Maastricht. I mean, it's a lovely part of the world, this Limburg area, lovely rolling region of rolling hills and ancient forests. We're actually still in the Belgian bit before we cut back up towards Maastricht, which we have a chance of seeing. It's a lovely old medieval city and lovely churches as well, and cobble streets and what have you, and very famous for its hospitality in recent years. Well, it's been a place, you imagine, right down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Holland's been fought over. In fact, it's been besieged 21 times. Most frequently, the town of Maastricht has been hammered by the Dutch, the French and the Spanish army, changing nationality no less than 4 times. So it's a very international race we've got going into a very international city. Maastricht, known best of all, I suppose, for the treaty, which has come into a lot of stick in recent years. Well, we've lost Armstrong from the fray, and he's all going to be down to his teammates to carry the Motorola banner in toward the finish. That's Axel Merckx, the big lad there. If you're just taking on the programme and haven't caught up with the early part of what happened in the early part of the proceedings, we had a break when 2 men went away, Scott Sunderland of Lotte and the Rada, and they had a lead of 2 minutes, got absorbed, and after about 3.5 hours of racing, the thing was just a complete purge. It all blasted apart, and about 70 or 80 men were all that's left of the field, and then that began to split under pressure as Armstrong, Rebellin, Massey and Hewlett took off. They got a lead of about 35 seconds. They got hauled back by the remnants of the 70-man group. They began to split into equal parts of like 30, 40, 30, that sort of order, further back down the field. And then since then it's just been one hill after the other, disposing of the less fit, and Armstrong, for one reason or another, has drifted off the pack as well. And so we got left with Axel Merckx sat in the centre there. And up in the leading group is Perron. He's not going to chase down Perron, so he won't see anything from that Motorola rider there. With 22 kilometres to go, he'll ride himself at the back of the group. He's played a very good teammates part, I think. You'll see him middle of the group there at the moment. As a big tall lad like that, he's been climbing these short, sharp hills well indeed. Most of the big fellows can't get up the climbs very easily, but he's certainly done a good job so far. Gonchenko at the back. Something tells me this last lot might well blow apart again. Everybody wants this to go down to a sprint finish. The question is, can they catch that 3-man group down there? Oh, a bit of indecision going on here. Very nice frames, the Honda design frames here that he's riding on. There was a cartoon in the Lake Heath magazine a couple of weeks ago showing bicycle bits stood on flints as some form of display in a museum, and big photograph like works of art round about it, and it reminded me that of the works of art down the Champs-Élysées. They're going to Paris any time up to early June. The Champs-Élysées has got some modern works of art on both sides, but it's coming down out of the end of just before the end of June, because the Tour de France will be thundering up and down exactly where they've got these great big statues and works of art and sculptures and so on. We're going to have all the finishing seats for the VIPs and the camera positions and masses of people around, so they'll have to take down this enormous works of art and sculpture and whip them off somewhere else. But you could, in Paris, just nip along there and have a look at it. It's worth catching over modern art. Not exactly my cup of tea, but still worth having a look at. So that is the chasing group that seems to have lost a lot of fire at the moment now. So that leading group, it is 37 seconds. So that's Perron, Sorensen and Missiglia still holding on to that splendid lead over this group here. Well, 37 seconds, getting towards about 20-odd kilometres to go, so they've got to put the hammer down if they're going to catch those leading 3. Somebody's got off down the road. That was a World Cup lead at the moment. Was this a concerted attempt, or they just riding it up? We're back out with the leaders now. Mr. Glee on the back there. And I was saying earlier on about the exhibition in Paris and works of art and what have you. It's an amazing picture sent to me by David Walker. Much a work of art. Somebody's handcrafted a recumbent tandem. Amazing picture. I think it's somewhere in Belgium. There's a chap sitting on the front. He's sitting over the front wheel, and his dear lady wife is sitting at the back in what looks like a normal position, and the fellow at the front is a recumbent position. And I presume that it's cut down the wheelbase and make the old tandem go. Thanks, David, for that picture. Reminded me of the fact that Andy Wilkinson rode a recumbent three-wheeler from Lands into John O'Groats and went much faster than his bicycle record, as you expect in a recumbent position, and that was what achieved last weekend. Not a record under the RA rules, by the way, because recumbent faired machines aren't allowed on the RA rules. Although it was discussed at the recent AGM. There they go. So Berg's off now. This lad's been very perky all the way through, and the back Ronk, I think, will be keeping his powder dry for some of the more short and sharper hills. And this long drag they're on now. The appreciative Dutch audience on the side. Not got much to cheer about now. Looking at a rundown on these riders, where the nearest you can get to Dutch interest is that of Axel Merckx, the Belgian rider. The Motorola is hanging in towards the back. To Sorensen, the Dane, was up in the leading group. Oh, Hepner's blown. Hepner there for the telecom team, the man who got the special award last year for the most aggressive rider, has now gone and down the road. Yet another attack. Mazeo's watching Gonchenkov. That's the one he's got to watch in terms of the points in the World Cup. So Berg is going with them. You always feel the pain down just looking at them. Let's see, we've got that 30-second gap. There they are, still riding together. Peron, Lesclier and Sorensen. And that's our leading group. Lovely sunny weather. In fact, I'm sure that in Holland they're quite happy the weather's got better, and in Belgium too, because particularly in Holland and Amsterdam, all the tulips and the flower, they were running something about 10 to 14 days behind when coming out of blossom. It's amazing how these last 2 weeks has perked up all the flower. The tulips have come out in bloom, and it's I suppose all the farmers very happy that things have got better all of a sudden. Here we go. Fasten your seat belts. Bit like being on the roller coaster ride at Blackpool Big Dipper, isn't it? Thundering along here, always jumping in behind the motorcycle. You get his wrist snapped for doing that. That's an naughty thing, but my God, just give you some idea of Zanini's speed. If we come up with the motorcycle, he's gone away from that group. We've just done on a motorbike as well. Obviously, he wasn't travelling about 70 miles an hour, but he's been having to do 40 plus to get away. Sheer speed at this rate of knots. If he keeps this up, he might well catch up with the with that leading threesome. That's a real turn of speed from Zanini. Oh, 10 seconds, he's gone straight across, because Mazeo was more interested in keeping his eye on Gonchenkov because of the World Cup points, and this fellow just took his chance and went on that gradual slope, but he's gone. That is sheer speed. That is absolutely tremendous. I'd be surprised when he pops up, think, where the heck's he come from? Well, he did a good job there. And he's up. Well, that was a brilliant piece of riding. He just went across that gap. And he's there. He'll now get his breath back and just take it easy, I think, and wait till it recovers, and then perhaps aid this little breakaway group. But that just shows you somebody's that determined. And there we are. He's now joined up to that one. And he's just drifting through. I'm sure they're going to be very surprised to see him arrive, but there you are. There he is. Just coming to form at the right time. He got stage victory in the Tour de Pays Basque, which finished about 10 days ago, I suppose. So that did him a lot of good riding down there. He got a second place well on the first day behind Laurent Jalabert. And as Berg's trying to fly his kite as well. In fact, that's Zaina now. Oh, they're all going all over the place, aren't they? Every man for himself. I suppose what we're getting around about 20 kilometres to go. Didn't quite see where he came up from. It's the Berger early on was jumping around. And there's Mazou, and there's Zerberg in the mix of that one. Oh, they're coming from behind. That's what's happening now. There's been a bit of a regroupment. Yeah, Merckx is still there, but yes, there's some more. There's Claudio Chiappucci, so that group behind now has been strengthened by the arrivals of some other men. So what we've got now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 12 riders here. And Korea doing quite well now because Chiappucci's come up as well. It's Berg's there, Zaina's there, so the Korea have got 3 riders in this group. What's happened here? Well, there's Chiappucci with Mazou. Just doing a watchman job there, Axel Merckx. Camille's got up to him as well. Oh, guess who? Yes, Mr. Indane himself. Those who've been with us since the start of the programme will remember we saw him way back, and there's obviously been a hell of a reforming of the group here because Indane's come up with them, enjoying the sunshine. He must have brought it with him from Spain, I suppose, where he's been riding down there, getting the odd second and third place here and there. And now Mazou drifted off that leading group. There's a hell of a bunch of... And there comes... Bruno's going to have a go. Bruno rockets around the far side. They've left it very late indeed, this group, to try and do anything about breakaway. Remember, we've still got 3 men down the road. Perron, Missaglia and Sorensen. Sorry, 4, because Zanini's with them as well. And what they're picking up the scraps, the odds and sods here in the upside to pieces. And unless they get a clear comment from somebody, when Bruno comes across now, he'll have to double check to see if anyone else is down the road. It's been splitting, reforming and breaking out, and Bruno rolling up here. Is he going straight through again, or is he going to take a breather? He's got there. And the last time check we had still 30 seconds. And come up as well, Mazou come up with him. This bunch is a bit too big, I think, for a concerted effort. And Zanini has gone off the front here. Zanini's gone straight through and he's left them. Zanini's hammered away now. Sorensen doesn't want to chase. He's been doing a lot of work. Perron looks over his shoulder. Missaglia, the little fellow there for San Marco, starts to roll through. But Zanini, who jumped across the 30-second gap as if they were all standing still, has now gone away. Brilliant, sheer speed. He's absolutely rocking along here. Zanini, what tremendous form. Just shows you the great strength in depth they've got in their team, the Gewiss Playbus team. Playbus, you see it on his legs and jacket there, but that's not anything to do with a bus or a coach. In fact, Playbus is the name of a switchgear which the company makes. Here we go back to this one. The slow motion as he rides way off the front. And there he goes. And that was it. Well, he left the rest and caught this 3-man group without much trouble. He left this lot as well now. So Zanini is certainly on his way to what might be a useful victory here. We've still got a bit more climbing to do, but he certainly seems to have done the right thing now. So this is our leader. Steady. Zanini out to the saddle, pushing as much gap between himself and this chasing group that he possibly can do. This is the splitting part of it. We've got 3 men down the road that Zanini was with, but they're getting so close now that the handicap there is Gonchenkov, slid away off the front. With 2 others, one of them from the Rettin team. And going across the Maas, heading in towards Maastricht. They do a little loop round, and with 5 kilometres to go, turning a sharp left, and then doing a big circuit round, and then on in towards the finish. This is the Amstel Gold. And those are 3 riders that Zanini's left. If they look back over the bridge, we'll see another 3 coming up very quickly indeed. Must be so disappointing for a break like this to be absorbed getting into the closing stages of the race. After Sorensen here, been doing so much work. And here they come. Bunyo's about to join them, rolling quite a fair-sized gear. They've all left it so late, these top men. They've been waiting, riding, just breaking up the field here and there. And this is the man they're chasing down, all on his own. Well, Zanini, as I was saying earlier, has really come into form just at the right time. Some of these big teams, like the Gavis team and the Mappo team, they've got so many riders of strength in depth. They can produce riders to form. Just having a quick check. Zanini actually last year in the Amstel Gold finished in, what's that, 9, 10, 11th place last year, Zanini. In 11th place, and Museo last year finished off in 7th place, and that's when he lost his jersey last time. So there's no danger, I think, that he will lose his jersey this time, Museo, because the only dangerous man to Bartolo we haven't seen anything of, and Gonchenkov is some 40 points adrift, and always with this little group here. Museo can stick close to him, I suppose. We've done that lot. Museo, no, this thing keeps changing so much. 1 minute riders are there, then they're not. It's been known before when races have been splitting as badly as this one that some riders have got up, like Bunyo's just gone, and the rest, they get clear information about a man down the road. The Festinas are getting plenty of information. In fact, they've got 3 men up. It's like watching several different bike races at once here. We've suddenly got a Festina time trial going. They've come up from behind as well, and the whipper's gone out. They've been told to get stuck in and try and get back Zanini. I was saying earlier on that if they're not careful, they get a group going like this. Unless the team cars come up and tell them what's going on, they just don't know somebody slipped off down the road. This is the fellow who's gone away, but the Festinas are really putting the hammer down. And it's very difficult to imagine that 1 man on his own here, Zanini, could stay away from the sort of pressure that's being put on. It was a very hit and miss before. The riders weren't working very well, but now that the Festina had come up, they certainly have decided to ride this one flat out, and that it's a rather strange thing to do actually, because if all three are riding, I'm not quite sure they have anything left, and all they'll do is put into a good position the sprinter specialist, people like Museev, he can get across there too as well, but we haven't got information about him because he's been yo-yoing off the break, then coming up, then attacking. So here we are, this is the second group. Bunyo chasing that one through. They really are rolling, aren't they? And what happens if you've not watched cycle racing before? When they go through one at a time like this, they can have a rest further back down here. But Mr. Glio sat at this a lot, then you get plenty of shelter. Well, some shelter, and you don't have to pedal quite so hard. You just look at the back there, Sorensen was soft tapping almost, and he's still travelling at the same speed, whereas one man on his own has to do it all. There's no respite at all. So if they ride properly now, like called the old chain gang, going round, through, round through, round through, and not leaving gaps at all, working hard, then as a super shot of Bunyo, then there's a fair chance that they can pull back the one lone rider. But he's been going so quickly, Zanini down the road. He's been showing no sign of flagging. And that's the big, that's Bunyo beaten by Rolf Jarman in 1993 in the sprint when he thought he got it. Certainly the way that he went for the line, he thought he beat Jan, but didn't do it. Now this long straight road now, they'll certainly be able to see the figure of Zanini down there, and it'll be interesting to see what the gap is between them and the chasing group. That chasing group there is going to get a lot more riders with them, and that could play right into the hands of Zanini, who's still down the road on his own, because it needs a concerted effort. One team that comes around. The gap is 26 seconds at the moment. That's my unofficial time check, 26 seconds. They're getting into the final few kilometres. We're on the outskirts of Maastricht, and then into the finish. So he could just about have enough time to stay away if this group doesn't get itself together. Now, Festina pulling this along very fast indeed. The whole lot of them have made it up there. Well, that's rather surprising, because I wouldn't say Festina are actually awash with sprinters, and they'll ride themselves into an absolute frazzle here. And as they go, they're jumping around again. Now, jumping like this doesn't actually aid the chase, because the blokes who go away now will sit up in a minute, then they'll wait for somebody else to go, and you won't get that same continuous rhythm that you want to pull back one lone rider on his own. Just keep your fingers crossed then for Zanini down the road, who really has been riding extremely strongly indeed. Flashing through, just seen. Oh, there's Armstrong. He's come back again now, so he's ridden himself up with that chasing group. Armstrong, his legs don't look too healthy though. He's eased back a bit there. This is the man that they're after. They were out 6 kilometres ago. They're just down the road another kilometre. He'll turn sharp left. Just had 3 successes last year. Stayed at Torino Adriatico, the Cup of Bernocchi, Milan Torino, and he was 11th in the Tour of Flanders last year, and in this Amstel Gold 11th as well. So this could be a good ride then for Zanini. This is the left, round they go, and the splits are coming all the time. Certainly these narrow roads will aid. This is the final climb of the day at the St. Petersburg. It's a bit of a drag as such, and I think what will happen behind is this group might well split on that climb. But 30 seconds, 6 kilometres to go. Whew. That's 3 and a bit miles. I think he may just about get it. Well, Festiers are going back as fast as they went up the front. They did all the riding and driving to pull this lot back together. They've not got much left in their legs now. And with that gap of 30 seconds, can anybody here cross that gap? A lovely sight there of the cherry blossom, and the lovely spring has now sprung, as they say, and these riders here have given some very entertaining events we've been watching. Always subject to the fact we didn't overrun with the tennis, and my apologies again if you didn't hear the early part of our programme when we at Eurosport have had tennis overrunning. We've been unable to bring you the cycling, or vice versa, fresh below, when we put the cycling in place to tennis because it rained, and then tennis came on in place of cycling when we'd stopped. So please bear with us when we've had these few problems with our live coverage. Those who are watching it live on Saturday, we do the best we can in the circumstances. A lot more cycling throughout the rest of the season for you to watch, and it's one of those things that happens. Other live sports suffer the same way from time to time, overrunning of other ones just in front of them, but we seem to have won our fair share this year for the Eurosport match. Gonchenkov is hammering away here at the front. This man who burst upon the scene, in fact, no, it isn't. It isn't Gonchenkov. It's Fondriest has come up from behind. They keep changing left, right and centre. We've seen so many changes in the running order here as riders have come up from behind, but I do think they've left it just that bit too late. 30 seconds a gap, inside 5 kilometres to go. It really is desperation stakes for these riders here now. They know they've got to ride themselves to an absolute frazzle to catch up with Veeneendaal, but if you do that, you've got nothing left and you turn other people up. So it's a very tactical ride at the moment. Who else is coming up? Oh, as ever, the ever-present Mappe is coming up in great number. They've got 30 riders, so per many the ones you want from that. And Van den Broek coming up now. Well, he just won an event during his last week, young Van den Broek. And he has got the sort of class to lead this little chasing group, but I'm not quite sure that he can close down on Veeneendaal. Keep your fingers crossed. They're all going now. Well, Van den Broek hasn't worked his way through. He just decided to sit in on the back of this one at the moment. That's interesting. Perhaps he's put so much work into it, he's decided to take things easy. This is real speed, but the gap, you see one man on his own can still travel near enough at that same sort of speed. And they're all closing back up again. Oh, this man certainly has set this race alight at the moment then. Looks like he's managed to stay out in front, Veeneendaal. The look of expression on his face, this fellow, he's hurt himself absolutely to ride on in here. He timed that to absolute perfection. There's no doubt about that. Group behind have lost it now, the way he's thundering on here. And applause from the crowd then for Veeneendaal, looking back to see if that cavalry charge is going to come and catch him just at the 11th hour, but it looks like he's going to make it this time. Here they come there. They're not far behind him. The gap has been coming down all the time, but I think they've left it just a bit too late. Oh, I thought they're going to go right round there. There was a touch of brakes and a switching from one side to the other. But the 27-year-old has made it now. He's just held that speed to perfection, adding now to his list of successes, his classic Amstel Gold race. Superb ride there. The group behind us left it too late, so coming across the line to take it for Italy. And looking back down the records here, to go a long way back for an Italian victory in this race. In fact, I can't see one at all at the moment. So there we go with sorry, didn't actually last year was from Switzerland, so no, look at this lot. It looks like it's got to be the first Italian victory. And who's going to get the sprint out of this big bunch and the points at stake in the World Cup? Looks like Refin have managed to hammer one of their men across. Oh, no! Mazzeo popped in just through him because he put his arms up in the air there. So I think it was Joe Plancard who thought he got the sprint, but closing down on him was Mazzeo, and Mazzeo might have got second. We'll have to get a slow motion replay of that one. But the rest of the group come on in here now. So I think that second might have gone to Mazzeo. What a race. So we are at 4:10 Central European time. We have in fact finished about half an hour ahead of schedule. That give you some idea of the sheer speed of the race today, and I'll wait to see what the average was when they work it out at the end. But the rest of them here sprinting in just for the glory and the positions and the points in the UCI point score. Laurent Jalabert is at the moment the overall leader on the points position for events so far over the last 12 months, but as regards the Amstel Gold, the victor has gone to Zanini. There's some very tired legs after what has been one of the fastest of the Amstel Golds. I'll certainly look to see what the record speed, well, it's got up there against the one that was held at tremendous speed of 43.2 kilometres per hour, the record, 27.5 miles an hour, and that, I think, have gone very close to that today. These very fit riders. This is coming to the end of our coverage of the Classic season. As I mentioned to you earlier on, the tours will be coming up, and we'll be back in action with the next Classic in August. That'll be the Classic of San Sebastian's part of the World Cup, and then on the 18th of August, the Leeds International Classic. If you're up in the Yorkshire area and you want to go and have a little look at the Leeds Classic, then that will be on the 18th of August. 25th of August, Championship of Zurich. 6th of October, Paris Tour. 19th of October, the Tour of Lombardy, and the 27th of October we finish with the Japan Cup. But we'll be moving into the tour season before long, and plenty of cycling on Eurosport. We have a bit of a gap at the moment in May, but I said earlier, mountain biking too, downhill mountain biking, cross-country mountain biking, and of course we've got the Olympics coming up as well, which we're bringing in stacks of cycling on our Olympic programme. So I'm sure that all you bike riding fans will look forward to that being on Eurosport. For Zanini then, the victor now getting ready to go up onto the rostrum to collect the plaudits as he celebrates his tremendous performance there. He's just come into form just at the right time, and he takes the Amstel Gold, the 31st issue, after 253 very hard kilometres of riding. So victory then to Zanini. Zanini going up onto the rostrum then to receive the awards then of the Amstel Gold, the 31st edition of this race and the last one of the World Cup before we have a little break now, and going to Italian. And if my records are correct, I think it's the first time the Italian has won the Amstel Gold. The Amstel being a very famous beer, and I'm sure that he'll want to slug a drop of that by the time he's finished, because it'll be a very, very hot day indeed, with the race finishing just some half an hour up on schedule. I'm furiously trying to get amongst my papers here to see on the left-hand side, the fellow with the white hair, by the way, you just saw there, he's the Italian commentator, and we've been talking about the problems here as we watch for the sprint for second place. I'll come back to in just a moment, because Refin rider, I think it's Joe Plancard, thinks he's got it, sits up to straighten his jersey, and pops up on the other side is Mazzeo. I don't know, I'd like to say who was second or third out of that one. Gonchenkov looked fourth behind him, but somehow that was a very close call for second spot then, but a victory then for Zanini. And so look again. I think it was Plancard. He just got that by about 6 inches or such. So that was a close finish, that was. And there we are, just confirmation what I've been saying to you, that the next World Cup event will be the Classic San Sebastian, an event which I'm sure that Armstrong will remember from 4 years ago when he was riding in the Olympics, turned pro, rode that San Sebastian Classic, finished last, and then went on to finish second in the Championship of Zurich about 2 weeks later. And from then, as we're looking down here at that sprint that was nearly lost by trying to straighten his jersey, Armstrong went on to be a very successful bike rider, winning the Flèche Wallonne just about a week ago. So this is one thing you don't do if you're watching here. You sports fans are taking the cycle racing. You make sure you won before you throw your arms up and straighten your jersey. You nearly lost it on the line. We've seen that happen so many times in the past. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Amstel Gold. Myself, David Duffield, been enjoying being with you on the Classic Series as the president of the UCI there mounts the rostrum and shakes hand with Veeneendaal. That's Mr. Verbruggen, who's here, and he looks elated with the way that the cycling scene has unveiled itself so far. So the Amstel Gold over for this year, the 31st issue, and a success then for the Italians. By the way, just rubbing on something else here, there's a chap going to attack the hour record at Manchester, it says here, and his name is De Kuka, and that is going to be sometime 18th of May, I understand, at Manchester. This is reported in the continental press. I've not seen it reported in England as done any weights to go up there, but he's a very big fella indeed, and he's going to have a crack at the hour record. Not this fella, no, this fella De Kuka. But we'll have to see what he says there. So this is the last of our series so far. Zanini victory in the Amstel Gold. Zanini saving those moments of glory yet again. You're watching it on your screens here. He got away from that pack. He rode remarkably well. And myself, David Duffield, congratulations to the first Italian victory in the Amstel Gold. And to you all, bye-bye. Welcome then to the Veeneendaal, this race which covers 207 kilometres along some fairly flat territory, but very interesting countryside indeed. Starting out in the morning, the riders, the usual sort of anxious moments before the sign-on, the heavy proliferation there of the Rabobank team, the Dutch bank looking, I think, for something from their riders today. A good gathering of the clan, some top riders here for Telecom, Olaf Ludwig, together with Eric Zabel. Ludwig having had that problems with the crash in the Paris-Roubaix, now recovering and hoping to do well today, but I think he must be just anxious to get back in some reasonable sense of form. As far as the rest of the teams are concerned, Rabobank with Yakimov here on the start list, looking for something from him. Also, Adrie van der Poel is riding today, the World Cyclo-Cross champion, giving Rabobank their first success of the season. And other teams here with some top men. Brescia brought Piccoli with them, and Mappe GB, as ever, have founded yet another team, including Adriano Baffi, who's come from Spain with some tremendous form in his legs. On this fairly flat course today, I think somehow it's going to be a matter of the splits becoming a war of attrition rather than anything else. We caught a quick glimpse there of the Mappe GB manager, Lefebvre, who's had more than his fair share of onslaught from the press since the Paris-Roubaix, and the way he set up the finish between Museo and the rest of the team. Gazella bike here going flat out for TVM, built of Reynolds 701 tubing, and I must find out from my friend Terry Bills at Reynolds what a 701 is. It's a new one as far as I'm concerned, and I think what TVM are looking for as they're settling in on this flatter part of the course now is to set it up for a sprint for Jérôme Blijlevens, winner of a stage in the Tour of France last year. We had a quick look then at the big tall legs, long legs of Edwin van Hooijdonk in the middle of the group here. Rabobank in the white and orange, already firing riders off left, right and centre as the course takes the riders out from Veenendaal, out into an easterly direction, out to Arnhem, cutting down in towards Nijmegen. They do a couple of little circuits there, and many of the roads they're going to be on are, like you see here, through the forests, on little tracks as such. And Holland, a great cycling nation there. Arne Chamil in the centre of this little lot likes riding up up in the north, but today the conditions are bright, cheerful and very pleasant indeed. The winding, twisting roads like this at the moment have not split the field. No big hills today. They've cut back from Nijmegen in towards a finish at Veeneendaal. A fairly flat course, and we could be in for a sprint finish. Van Bon in the centre there for Rabobank. The Carrera team riding this one. There they go, straight through in the blue and the white colours. Head of the Carrera squad today, Claudio Chiappucci, but he's not at the front of this little one. Polti looking good at the front again as well. And Jamil right on the wheels, looking, there he goes, straight through to make sure that there's no early breaks in this particular race. So I think the thing to do is to keep the hammer down, keep the speed high. Our problems here for Blijlevens. A bit of attention to his saddle. With the Allen key fastings they get on these saddles now, sometimes they can work a little bit loose. And so Blijlevens, I think it's fixed. No, come on boy, back up again. He wants some more attention. No, they'll soon resolve that problem with a bunch stringing along here. At this sort of speed, it's typical of Dutch racing. Keep the pace high, stopping the breakaways going. For a minute we were going to have a bike rider in our lap. That was some shot we got there. And yet again then, Rabobank this time, yes, it's Leon Van Bon, yet again having a go on the front. Trying to force the pace here. Well, they certainly don't have a supreme sprinter in their team, so perhaps they're going to wind the thing down and hope that someone like Ekimov can go for a long one. He's certainly split the field at the moment. Looking back down there, down the line, that's Eric Dekker, the ex-amateur champion of the world. Number 17, second, third, fourth back to the front. 118, that's Andrei Chamil, the Moldovan rider, now moved down into Italy, having spent most of his life as a pro, first of all riding with Alfa Lum in Italy, then moving up to live on the edge of Roubaix. And he's had a lot of successes so far this year. A couple of successes so far. So he's had a good start to the season, but I don't think he's going to want a sprint finish in this one either. Well, we've seen a lot of this little team, by the way, jumping around. We had a quick look there at number 76. That's Bisaglia of the San Marco group. All the way through the early part of this season, he's been a lively lad and a new pro. I think we'd like to see him one day come good at some part of the season. He's prepared to sit up there, make sure he's with the big boys. Never afraid to go with the early break, sit in, and just doesn't do much on the front anyway. And I think they're prepared to carry him through. We got a break here, around about 40 men. It's split at long last. The sheer speed has had an effect on the chases. On those long straight stretches, we can get a bit of a regroupment going on. But generally speaking, on a little narrow, twisty road, they could stay away. We looked at Cedric Vasseur just then at the moment, and this is a big, tall fellow, isn't he? Big up to his grandmother when he grows up. That's Tristan Hoffman of the TVM team. Again, TVM, one of the Dutch-based teams, would like to get a success in this on the home run. He's got right into the gutter, digging into the gutter with his wheels. He was right up against the soft and sticky stuff then, but he's forced his way through. A big, tall, gangling fellow, but he looks like he's been sucked back again. And one man up in front of him, giving him some shelter, but that looks to me like Baffy sat on his wheel as well. Unlucky for some, number 13, Hedwig van Hooydonk. Let's hope he's okay today. So, Carrera, Telecom, Lotto, Rabobank, TVM, Nape, Gaan, back to Telecom as they flick past the screen. These the riders. There's close up once again of young Leo van Bon and Chamila in the black and red. And there's quite a forcing little group, but I said on these straight stretches there's every reason they can keep the leaders in sight, but that gap to me now is about 1 minute. Furious chasing going on from behind to try and get across there. Working well at the moment. And somebody's, I'm not sure it's a spectator or a rider that's taken a shot. No, it's a spectator obviously because he's got long leg warmers on, and somebody's hammering on the cycle track on the far side there, trying to keep pace with the bunch. I don't think it's anybody in the race trying to get past because he's got leg warmers on. Yeah, he's getting blown now. I thought somebody's taking a shortcut. Well, that's the second group at the moment. And really, for a 207-kilometre race that has lots of little loops around the more pleasant parts of the countryside. It's going to be one of those wars of attrition, and I think somehow the gap's opened up now. We look back down the trees, and yep. There is what's left of the main bunch, and the long string of team cars behind with the spare bikes on top. But today most of the roads are nice and smooth. That's the problem with front. And TVM seem to have missed the boat. They've got a big wodge of riders on the front, stirring things up. The front of that arrowhead, the blue and red shoulders and the white main body with the yellow lower half. That's TVM grinding away at the front. They certainly seem to have missed the boat at the moment. Veeneendaal-Veeneendal, one of the mini classics really. It's one of the races has been running about 5 or 6 years now, as Jens Jaskula here starts to try and break things up a bit. From little acorns do big oak trees grow, and Veeneendaal-Veeneendal is one of those semi-classics where they're trying to build the race up and get it up to a level where it become one of the classic races of the season. I think somehow, because the trouble is they can't in Holland, except when you go right the way down to Valkenburg, find any like decent hills to split people up. So it's a fairly fast sort of course that really only sucks the legs of the riders and saps the strength and the speed of the riders, which makes the race as such. And still, Jaskula finished third in the Tour de France about 3 years ago. We all thought he's going to be one of the stars of tomorrow. And here we are about stars. There's Claudio Chiappucci, who something tells me is probably using this race as a bit of a training ride, just behind Eric Zabel of the Telecom team, who would certainly be only sitting in this one waiting for a sprint finish, because a fair chance if they could put this lot all back together again, then he'll be in there with a shout. So at least he's in the leading group, Zabel. Claudio Chiappucci's made it as well, but he won't want a sprint finish, and Jaskula's been trying to stir this one up. And for some reason at the front there, we've still got Telecom driving hard. Obviously they've got to pull Jaskula back rather than go in for a sprint finish, and it really is now going so quickly. You can see the way they're thundering along here. Oh, no! He's saying, get on, get on. This is Zabel. He's punctured. Zabel couldn't have punctured a worse time. The hammer's gone down. They've gone after Jaskula, and Zabel has punctured. So as far as he's concerned, that's out. And the second group come thundering by now. He waved his hands to the rest of the Telecom team and said to them, go on, and I'll just wait for my wheel, and that'll be that. So disappointment then for the sprinter specialist as Anders Radant on the front starts to ride hard for TVM. TVM really are putting pressure on here, but no help at all then from Adrie van der Poel, number 12, the World Cyclo-Cross champion in the Rabobank colours. Rabobank, quite interestingly, sponsoring a Dutch team wanting to build up, not only interested in the sport as such here, but to nurture the interest in young riders, junior riders, and in mountain biking and so on. Well, they got their first success with the bold Adrie, that is, number 12. I think somehow he's just going to sit in there. He's not going to drive this one at all as they come back. That group, that driving by TVM, have now reabsorbed them. And we're seeing one or two riders we don't normally see. That Veeneendaal golf team in there, one of the riders who won a stage in the Tour of Mallorca early on this year. So we're seeing quite a number of new shirts on Eurosport in this Dutch semi-classic. But now coming in toward the finish, this little breakaway group then starting to go away, and they're going to do this little circuit round here at Veenendaal. Lots of circuits, by the way, which gives the crowd plenty of time to see the rise on this 207-kilometre race, and a break has already happened. It's split away there, and what a chase is coming on from behind here. So we've got some good riders in this one. Eckhout from Belgium, Veenstra, Uchikov, and there the pressure's on. Well, this really is developing a interesting race. Leon van Bon hammering through at the moment. Alongside him, the Polti rider, and that is Uchikov. They started to put the hammer down here to break away that, break up that group that was quite considerable. Uchikov, stage victor in the Tour de France. And again, here they come up now. cavalry, the full charge here, but the pressure is beginning to show, and on his own, actually, Jamil here is doing a lot of work, and he zoomed through that gap there. He's got no team. All the way over, we look, you see lots of jerseys of the same team, but Lotto seem to have missed the boat, and Jamil's having to do it all on his own. He's closed down. Look at the lovely daffodils on the right-hand side. In Holland, it's been a pretty slow start to spring. Some of the blooms haven't happened as they expected, but right now we saw some lovely, lovely sights of those yellow daffs on the side of the road, but these riders have no time to enjoy that. The pressure on here. Brescia having a go now to try and stay in contention, and that I think was Baroni Piccoli. Oh, it's a split scum. This looks good at the moment. That's Johan Capio gone through with Pitskits of the Rabobank team, and Jamil Capio looks back over his shoulder, urges Pitskits to come through. He's a Latvian rider, and there Jamil goes through. Well, he's a Moldavian. He's gone. As he went through, he just took straight over. Capio was more concerned about some work being done by Pizziks. He's allowed him to go through, and that's it. Well, Pizziks finished in fourth place last year, and Olaf Ludwig won the race. Van Petegem was second, and Jonker was in third spot, and now Jamil has just gone away. This is typical of Jamil's tactics. He did what, like 60 kilometres on the Paris-Roubaix when he won, a couple of years ago now. And Jamil, this is typical of the way this man goes. He can't allow himself to wait to finish. He's done just the right thing, and riding back into Veenendaal, the crowd are applauding him with 300 metres to go. He's done just the right thing. Looking now for his third success of the year. Hammering down here, the winner of the Paris-Roubaix in 1994. Here he comes down to what is going to be one of his great successes. Tremendous ride to add to his success in the Paris-Roubaix. He's been third in the Tour of Flanders, third in the Gate Wevelgem over the years, and there he is now taking victory in the Veeneendaal-Veeneendal. 207 kilometres, a very, very fast racing indeed in this Dutch Classic, and it's going to be the rider from the Rabobank team, Avis Pizziks, who takes second place, just ahead of Johan Capio into third. Here comes a brunch sprint down, and Stefan Weizmann of Telecom hits the front just ahead of Eekho. Luchakov there was in sixth spot, Veenster seventh, Von was in eighth. So that's it. Veenendaal-Veeneendal. Myself, David Duffield. Hope you enjoy some fast and furious riding.
Which one of these three players